Welcome back to another video lecture of financial derivative and risk management. So till now we have discussed many instruments that we are trading in financial derivative, and we have talked of forwards, we have talked of futures, how we are doing that, we have talked of various types of underlying assets and how we are doing trading in the future market in those underlying assets. So like that we come to know that this financial derivative are definitely a risk hedging tool, and with that we can manage our risk very well. But there is something which is a crucial thing what we have no till date, that these forwards or futures, they are the contract with which we make a contract, and the counterparty are mandatorily going to execute that in the futures date or the predetermined date at the predetermined price that we have known that. But what in case we don't want to execute that particular contract at the time of its expiry or at the time of its execution? Is there any instrument that is available in financial derivative? Then the answer is definitely a yes. So there is another type of financial derivative which is famously known as the options, which give and right but not the obligation to buy and sell a particular underlying asset. So it is a very interesting type of financial derivative. In today's class, we are going to talk on that financial derivative, that is the option. So without much delay, let's start the class of today. So an option is a derivative, a contract that gives the buyer the right but not the obligation to buy or sell the underlying asset by a certain date, that is the expiration date, and at a specified price which we are saying as the strike price. So it is a little more complex than the stock trading, and options can help to make a relatively larger profit if the price of the security goes up. So that is because one does not have to pay the full price for the security in an options contract. In the same way, options trading can restrict the losses if the price of the security goes down, which is known as hedging. So as we know that in financial derivative we are hedging our risk, we are shifting our risk, we are avoiding the risk. So that is what option is giving a very good opportunity of making large profit. So let's understand this with an example, like suppose you discover a house that you would love to purchase, and unfortunately you won't have the cash to buy it for another 3 months, and you talk to the owner and negotiate a deal that gives you an option to buy the house in 3 months for a price of 20 lakhs, and the owner agrees, but for this option you pay a price of 3 lakh of rupees. So we have a dream house, or we suppose we have a thing that we urge to have or wish to have, and here we are taking, suppose there is a house and we want to have it, but unfortunately what is there, we cannot buy it immediately by paying the cash, and we assure that after 3 months we are going to pay the value of that 20 lakh rupees for the house. But the owner, he is agreeing to this contract of giving that house after 3 months, but with an option to pay a initial amount of 3 lakh of rupees. Now consider that two theoretical situations that might arise in this situation, that is, it is discovered that the house is actually the true birthplace of a state hero. So as a result, the market value of the house is skyrockets to rupees 1 crore. So because the owner sold you the option, he is obliged to sell you the house for 20 lakh in the end, and your profit is going to be 77 lakh. That is the 1 crore rupees, the value that will be there after 3 months. the 20 lakh rupees that you are going to pay and the 3 lakh rupees that you have already paid. If we make a calculation of that, then we are going to make a profit of this 77 lakh if the price goes up to 1 crore rupees. Other situation might happen that while touring the house, you discover not only that the walls are chock full of asbestos, but also that the house is haunted. So furthermore, a family of super intelligent rats have built a fortress in the basement. So though you originally thought you had found the house of your dreams, you now consider it worthless. So on the upside, because you bought an option, you are under no obligation to go through with the sale. So unfortunately, you still lost the 3 lakh price of the option that you have paid. So that is what could be a option is. So if we will see it, that option means what? In the particular example, if we will see that we are wishing or we are having a dream of getting a house, and that particular type of house is available to us. So we are eager to have that, but immediately we don't have money to pay for that, but we want to go into the deal of getting that house. So the house worth is 20 lakh rupees, which we promise to pay after 3 months and own the house. Now the owner agrees, subject to condition that we need to pay an initial amount of 3 lakh rupees. So that 3 lakh rupees we are depositing and having the right to get that particular house after 3 months. So now two different situations might arise with this example. Suppose it happened that that particular house is find out to be a heroic person of the state, and the price of that particular house is skyrocketing to 1 crore rupees. So as we are into the contract, so we are going to get that house. That house will be our after 3 months at a cost of 20 lakh rupees, whatever might be the cost of that house at that particular point of time after 3 months. Now, if the price of that house is 1 crore rupees after 3 months, we will get that house in 20 lakh rupees, and the initial amount of 3 lakh additional, so 23 lakh we are paying for that and making a straight profit of 77 lakh. So it is a win-win position. But other way can happen, and it is found that that house is not of that worthy, and we are not willing to go into that contract or execute that contract. So in that contract, by paying that 3 lakh rupee, we have the right, but we are not obliged to get into that, whether we will execute that or we will not execute that. So after 3 months, if we find that that house is not suitable or we don't want to enter into the contract, we can simply withdraw. But the thing is that the initial amount that we have paid for that 3 lakh will be our loss. So this is what a option is. Option is executed like that. We have the right and not obliged to execute that option. We have an option of either entering into that or not entering into that. That is what option is. So this example, what is demonstrating that two very important points. That is, first, that when you buy an option, you have a right but not the obligation to do something, and you can always let the expiration date go by, at which point the option is worthless. So if this happens, you lose 100% of your investment, which is the money you used to pay for the option. And second, an option is merely a contract that deals with an underlying asset. So for this reason, options are called derivatives, which means an option derives its value from something else, as we have already known that in our all the previous classes. We know that derivatives are the instruments that are deriving its value from the underlying asset. So in our example, the house is the underlying asset. So in the example that we have taken, every contract or every dealing or profit or loss or whatever trading we are doing, that is on that house or revolving around that house. So house is the underlying asset in our example. So most of the time the underlying asset is a stock or an index. We have already done that or know that in our previous classes, that this underlying asset can be any financial instrument or that underlying asset can be any commodity. So if we see that the Chicago Board Options Exchange was set up in 1973, was modern options coming to begin at that particular time in Chicago Board of Options Exchange. And if we will talk of India, in India the National Stock Exchange introduced trading on 4th June 2001. So this is what the option is. Now these options can be used for either leverage or it can be used as a hedging. So this is what the use of this option is. So options trading helps to make profits from changes in share prices without putting down the full price of the share, and can get control over the shares without buying them outrightly. So that is why we are saying that it can give or it can be used as a leverage, and it can also be used as a hedging tool. So why we are saying that it can be used as a hedging tool, that they can also be used to protect from fluctuations in the price of a share and letting you buy or sell the shares at a predetermined price for a specified period of time. So as these are the things that a option is doing, so the options can be used both as leverage and also for hedging. So now we will see what are the features of an option contract. So first is premium or down payment. So the holder of this type of contract, that is the option contract, must pay a certain amount, that is called the premium, for having the right to exercise an options trade. So in case the holder does not exercise it, he or she loses the premium amount. So usually this premium is deducted from the total payoff and the investor receives the balance, and this premium is consisting of two things, that are the intrinsic value and the time value. So what is this intrinsic value and the time value is? The intrinsic value of an option is based on the difference between a stock's current market price and the option strike price. So that is what the intrinsic value is. And what is time value? The value of an option based on the amount of time period the contract expires. Time is valuable to investors because of the possibility that an option's intrinsic value will increase during the contract's time frame. So as the expiration date approaches, time value decreases. So this is known as a time decay or theta after the options pricing model used to calculate it. So this is what the premium or down payment is. So we can say that premium or down payment is mandatory while we are going to do options trading, and this premium and down payment is the money that we are going to put while we are holding a option for contract, and if we are not going to exercise that or if we are not going to execute that, we are going to lose that premium amount. And this premium amount that is to be put, that is deducted from the total payoff, and the investor receives the balance amount. And this premium is consisting of two things, that is the intrinsic value or the inner value or the core value. That what we are saying, that the value of the option that will be there on the stock's current market price and the option strike price. So that is what the intrinsic value is. And other thing is the time value, that means the time factor for which we are holding that, or the contract expiration date. So we know that as the expiration date is approaching, the value of the contract is going to decrease or going to go down. So this is what we also know as the decay or theta, and this is what the time value is. And what is the value of the contract with the time period in which the contract is taken until its expiration or execution. According to that also the premium is done. So this is what the premium or down payment is. Another feature of option contract is the strike price. So this refers to the rate at which the owner of the option can buy or sell the underlying security. If he or she decides to exercise the contract, then what is the price on which he is going to exercise it? That is what the strike price is. And the strike price is fixed and does not change during the entire period of the validity of the contract, which is the thumb rule of any derivative that we are talking of, that it is done to hedge the risk, and we are having the price while we are taking the contract. So that is what the strike price is, that we are going to execute while we are going to exercise the contract. And it is important to remember that this strike price is different from the market price, because what is the market price doesn't matter. The price at which we took the contract, that is what we are going to execute, and the latter changes during the life of the contract is not possible. Another important feature is the contract size. The contract size is the deliverable quantity of an underlying asset in an options contract, and these quantities are fixed for an asset. If the contract is for 100 shares, then when a holder exercises one option contract, there will be a buying or selling of 100 shares. So that is what the contract size is. That means the size of the contract or the number of the shares or whatever is the underlying asset, that is the fixed, and that is what contract size is, and this is an important feature of option contract. Then the next feature of option contract is the expiration date. Expiration date means the date on which we are going to exercise the contract. So every contract that comes with a defined expiry date, and this remains unchanged until the validity of the contract. So if the option is not exercised within this date, it expires. So if we are not executing that contract within that date or in that particular date, after that this contract is not valid or it is going to expire. Then comes the intrinsic value, which is an important feature, and an intrinsic value is the strike price minus the current price of the underlying security, and this money call options have an intrinsic value. The next feature is the settlement of an option. So there is no buying, selling or exchange of securities when an option contract is written. So the contract is settled when the holder exercises his or her right to trade that. So in case the holder does not exercise his or her right till maturity, the contract will lapse on its own and no settlement will be required. So if we are not executing that, or if you are not exercising that, then that will definitely expire, as we have talked in expiration date. It will expire and we no need to settle that, and if we are exercising it, then we need to settle it down. That is what the settlement of an option is. The next feature is no obligation to buy or sell. So in case of option contracts, the investor has the option to buy or sell the underlying asset by the expiration date, but he is under an obligation to purchase or sell. So if an option holder does not buy or sell the option, then the option will lapse. So it is also an important feature of option particularly, that there is no obligation to buy or sell. It might execute or it might exercise that, or it might not exercise that. So these are what the features of option contracts are, that it has expiration date, it has a contract size in which it is going to execute. We need to put some premium at the time of taking an option, and there is no obligation for executing the contract. We might or might not. There is a settlement or settling down of option contract is there. So like that, there are various features that make option trading unique. So this is what an option is. Today we know that what option contract is and how it is a instrument by which we can have a secure position in the future, that we have a right but we are not obliged to execute that right. But definitely it is a high risk instrument in which there is a lot chance of making high losses. So these are a high profile instrument that are been taken up by the huge investors, or the investors those are taking high risk and investing a high amount. And we know that what are the different unique features of this option contract is. So this option contract can be taken in two ways, or there are two famous terms of this option contract is that are the call option and the put options. So in our next class, we are going to learn more on this option contracts types and various other facts of this option contract. So keep watching our channel, UN College Digital Class. So this is all for today. Thank you.